Hey folks, Romans chapter 1 says that which is visible testifies of he who is invisible. We see so many characteristics of God throughout Mother Nature. One example here is this strawberry plant. And I would like to use this as an example of how to both raise our kids and also how to release them. Both of those are very, very important concepts. If you notice here at the strawberry plant, we have several runners. This particular runner goes to this plant and goes to this plant as well. Now, interesting enough, this runner is also called the umbilic or umbilical cord for obvious reasons. What happens, this runner produces little nodules. And when the nodules are put into the soil, good soil, it eventually produces a root system out of that and, of course, a plant. That reminds us that we as parents are responsible for giving the right soil to help raise our kids in. That means we watch what comes into our home via media or entertainment or social media. We also try to bring good soil in by having a devotional life and speaking about the things of the Lord. When kids are given the right environment, the right soil, I believe they will naturally grow. Homeschooling parents get so anxious about, oh, can I do this? Your job is to create an atmosphere of home, an atmosphere of peace. Kids will naturally grow, will naturally be raised in that environment. So we understand this plant shows us the importance of raising our kids in the proper context, the proper soil. But here's what's really interesting to me. If these plants stay attached too long, they start to suck the life out of the mother plant and also the other plants that plant is feeding. It's every bit as important to know how do we release our kids as well as how we raise our kids. I've said with bow hunting sometimes you can get the bow sighted in perfectly, but if you jerk at the release, all that preparation means nothing. Now, when I talk about release, it could be a geographical release. Our kids are preparing for college or maybe for marriage or leaving the house for work, a job someplace. But it can also happen within the context of being home still. And what I mean by that is we must release our kids to maturity. We must give them the freedom to make certain choices and have the responsibility of those choices. If we ever divorce responsibility from freedom, that's a problem. And I see that sometimes with this thing called adolescence. Our kids have the maximum amount of freedom with the minimum amount of responsibility. And that could be a recipe for disaster. So we need to know how to and know when to release our kids. And that must be, as we pray to God, as we watch our kids, the different propensities, the different maturities. One child will be ready at 17. One child might be 20 or 21 before they're ready to make those choices. And as parents, we have to decide when it's time for that release. But we must at some point release it. Because if it doesn't, it can become toxic, not just to the parents, but to the other siblings as well. I hope that makes sense. We need to know how to raise our children, but also how to release them at the proper time. This is Kirk Smith with ICHE's Take 5.